Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. So I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. Oh, you want to hear the good news first? Well, okay, you know how recently I made a video discussing how Checkered Pass is losing 50% of its airtime at the end of this year, being this week actually? Well, yeah, that's now kind of not happening as we originally thought. So it was going from 8 hours a week to 4 hours a week on Mondays through Thursday, and that's still happening, but now we're actually going to be gaining an additional hour on Fridays. So now the new Checkered Pass schedule is going to be Monday through Friday from 5 to 6 p.m. So we have 5 hours of Checkered Pass per week, which is still 50% less than what we had last year. But hey, at least we're gaining an hour, right? Or we're losing 1 hour less, I guess I should be saying. But then there's the bad news. And the bad news is that this is happening because Toonami Rewind has been canceled by Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. The end of this year will be the last broadcast of Toonami Rewind, which was a block that came out on May 31st of this year. So it's literally a block that lasted all of 6 months on Cartoon Network and Adult Swim before it's now being canceled in favor of having Checkered Pass take over the slot again, but this time only for an hour. This is just a complete and utter mess of a situation, and it's all because Adult Swim regained the rights to Family Guy. They got the rights to air Family Guy on the channel, so they were deciding, the executives that is, that okay, let's chop Checkered Pass in half, let's get rid of Toonami Rewind because Family Guy is coming back to Adult Swim. Yay, isn't that amazing? No, it's terrible. What are we doing here? I just don't understand how the network, it's like they take 1 step forward, they have a great idea, and then they take 2 steps backwards. I feel like I've been saying this for years now regarding Cartoon Network. I just don't understand. Like, I just recorded the 2024 year in review for Cartoon Network, and in that video I mentioned how Checkered Pass is going to be taking a step back now. We're losing, half of the airtime. We've lost 60% of the airtime if you go back to last year in August of 2023 when it first premiered. We did game Toonami Rewind. That's a good block. I've been saying in other videos recently how Toonami Rewind should either be expanded upon or move it to Saturday night, have it air before Toonami. Maybe it starts at like 9 o'clock at night and it airs till midnight before Toonami comes on, and then Toonami's on from midnight to 3:30 a.m., whatever it is now. But instead, we're straight up canceling Toonami Rewind, and again, I just do not understand why. Poor Jason DeMarco, I just real quick shout out to him because I saw he put a tweet out there saying that, people know his name and are blaming him for this decision, but he had nothing to do with this, and it's the powers that be. He's just working for the big umbrella that is Warner Brothers Discovery. He didn't have a hand in making this decision, so don't give Jason DeMarco any hate there. It's not his fault this is happening. I don't even think this is Michael Olin's fault that this is happening. I think this is the powers that are above him, the executives that he has to report to, that are deciding, hey, when we look at our balance sheet, if we have Family Guy on instead of having these classic Cartoon Network shows, because who wants to see those, right? And instead of having, Dragon Ball Z Kai, Naruto, Sailor Moon, we could just have Family Guy on. And if we look at the balance sheet, that's an extra $50 in our pocket by doing that. Let's do that instead. That's what I think this is. And again, it's just a mind-boggling, tone-deaf decision because you're trying to build your brand up. I mean, Cartoon Network, I've been saying this for years now, but Cartoon Network is in the worst position that it's ever been in. I mean, Christina Miller, I know she gets a lot of the hate, and I do think a lot of this is her fault. She really drove Cartoon Network into the ground back in the mid-2010s, and essentially Tom Ashley was brought in to try to recover and make Cartoon Network this big rival to Disney. He gets fired before he can even attempt to do so, right? He just started, and then the merger happens, he gets fired, Michael Oling comes into play, he's the new president of Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, and quite frankly, I've said this in other videos as well, but I don't know how much power he actually has here, because Warner Brothers Discovery is just a complete and utter dumpster fire as it is already, that I don't think he has that much control. I think his hands are tied behind his back. It's like whatever they allow him to do, whatever money they give him, he can go use it for, a select few projects, but he can't just create money by snapping a finger, right? He's only able to use the resources that he's given. To tie this all back into Toonami Rewind, one thing I noticed with it recently, which I thought was rather odd, you may have heard me mention before that, Toonami Rewind consisted of Sailor Moon for an hour, then it was a half hour of Naruto, a half hour of Dragon Ball Z Kai. Well, as of December 6th, I've actually been watching Toonami Rewind a lot lately, and as of December 6th, it became a 2-hour marathon of Dragon Ball Z Kai, which, look, I love Dragon Ball as much as the next guy. I'm not complaining there. Sailor Moon, I watched it on Toonami Rewind. It's the first time I've ever seen that show in my life. I don't think it's a bad show, but it's personally not my cup of tea. Naruto, obviously, don't really have to say much there. It's an amazing series, great classic show, but I found it a bit weird. All of a sudden on December 6th, it became the Dragon Ball Z Z Kai block, basically. We removed Naruto, we removed Sailor Moon, and now it's just strictly Dragon Ball Z Kai. And then all of a sudden now, the rug's being pulled out beneath Toonami Rewind because it's gone. I really do feel like, in my opinion at least, that this is really a last-minute decision that's coming from up top, because I feel like they're just kind of ending the block randomly during the middle of the Namek saga. Like, I believe there's one more Toonami Rewind broadcast left, which is most likely happening today, the day you're watching this video, if you're watching this video when it first comes out. I don't think they're gonna finish the Namek arc in these 4 episodes that are premiering tonight. I could be wrong, but essentially you're just having Dragon Ball Z Kai disappear from your channel mid-story without actually wrapping up the arc you were showing on your channel. It's just such an awkward and convoluted mess. The problem is that Cartoon Network really doesn't have an identity, and I feel like what they were doing with Checkered Past, you know, bringing all of these old classics into the fold, and I say all of these old classics, it was only really 4 of them, right? It was Dexter's Laboratory, Courage the Cowardly Dog, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Maddie, and Ed and Eddie. I know Cow and Chicken came in at one point. I know they had some other series come entering, you know, What a Cartoon was in there at one point. They had Space Ghost Coast to Coast, I think, maybe even, I don't know, I could be wrong on that last one. Nevertheless, it was only a handful of shows, maybe at most 10 shows that were a part of Checkered Past. But they were trying to rebuild their identity by leaning on their past, making this new block Checkered Past, bringing the old classics back to show, hey, we're still around. We are still Cartoon Network. All those great shows you remembered us airing back in the day, they still exist, and we're going to be bringing you more shows like this in the future. Then all of a sudden, Toonami Rewind comes into play, and it's like, oh yeah, Checkered Past has been such a big success for us. Why don't we try to replicate that with Toonami Rewind, but for anime? We'll have, you know, Dragon Ball Z Kai air. Dragon Ball was always a staple on Cartoon Network back in the day. We'll have Naruto air. That was a staple on Cartoon Network back in the day. Heck, we'll even throw in Sailor Moon as well. And then all of this happens for them to throw it all away because Family Guy is returning to Adult Swim. And they've been airing advertisements for Family Guy returning to Adult Swim, saying, hey, Family Guy's returning to Adult Swim. Come check it out, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, it's just unfathomable to me because they're not even airing that Craig of the Creek is ending. Craig of the Creek is ending next month on January 25th. That will be the last episode of Craig of the Creek. They are airing that the show is going to be airing new episodes, but they're not saying it's the end of the show, but we all know it is because the creators confirmed he's not working on it anymore. The show's been canceled. It's over. I just find it unfathomable how a Fox series and Family Guy is being treated better than Cartoon Network treats their own shows. I just don't understand it. It's just the lack of leadership, the lack of, I don't want to say the lack of integrity here, but it's like at a given point, it's like, what are we doing? And again, I don't think this is Michael Olin's fault. This is 100% not Jason DeMarco's fault. You know, like he said, he's getting blamed for this. Don't blame him. This isn't his fault. It's the people above them. I just don't understand what you're trying to do here because you have these people in place. You have Michael Olin in place, Jason DeMarco in place, all these other people who are high up there in the Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers animated Adult Swim front. You have all these people in place to try to fix your brands, but then it's like they do one positive thing and then you do 2 negative things. It's like, how are they going to fix your brand if you keep messing with it? It's like, let them fix the brand and keep your hands off it. It's just so frustrating to me to be seeing this, especially, you know, I'm going to be making the 2025 Outlook video soon. I don't really have a positive outlook, spoiler alert, for them in 2025. I really don't. We'll get into that in detail when that video comes out, but it's just like decision after decision after decision. I've been saying this since 2017. Cartoon Network takes 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards. It's just the MO of this company at this point. It's just, this is what Warner Brothers Discovery is. Warner Brothers Discovery is a dumpster fire. They can't do anything but hurt themselves. They can't get out of their own way. It's like 1 positive decision comes and 2 negative ones come to take its place. And then they have a good thing going in Checkered Past. They decide to take 2 hours away from it to introduce another good thing in Toonami Rewind. I said time and time again that I think Toonami Rewind should have been, you know, on Saturday nights or maybe have it air after Checkered Past. You know, you could have it Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. That would have worked, but no, they decided let's take Checkered Past away, get rid of 2 hours of that. We'll introduce Toonami Rewind to now let's get rid of Toonami Rewind. Let's get rid of 50% of Checkered Past because Family Guy's here. Again, mind-boggling decision here. If you can't tell from this video, the tone of it, I am beyond frustrated because this brand is dying. Like, at the end of the day, Cartoon Network is dying, and it seems like Warner Brothers Discovery could care less. The executives over there, I don't want to name names, but they are just digging Cartoon Network's grave and waiting to push it in the grave and, you know, close the dirt on top of it. Anyways, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about this whole situation that Toonami Rewind's being canceled because Family Guy's here, guys? If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.